Isn't she cute? How are you guys? Good. Everyone enjoying Vegas? A little too much? Who here partied with Perry Ciccarelli last night? Show of hands, right? Everyone's still in bed. Gotcha. Anyway, really quickly, so before I get chatting with you guys, if you have any questions while I'm chitting and chatting, just open up your Slido app. You can type a question and we'll answer it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you have a QR code on your table. Look at all this technical stuff she's doing. Everybody, thank you. So I am Amy. Nice to see you. How y'all doing? Good? All right, good. You know, it's so interesting when we talk about like defying boundaries, like what does that mean for each person? It means something different for everybody in every stage of life, right? So I was the firstborn of 4. Ooh, I'm the oldest. Oldest people out there, you know what I'm talking about. We will beat the rest of you, anyway, moving on. And everything was normal in my life, right? Until one day I'm in the car with Mom. I'm 18 months old. And so we're in the car, and I'm in the car seat. That's when we had those front-facing car seats. You guys remember that? Yeah, that's also when we sucked on lead paint like it was going out of style. You remember that? I think we're all okay, though. Hang on, it'll stop in a second. Mom was looking in the rearview mirror, not at what was going on behind her, but at little Amy. And we were singing, we were doing all the things, and then all of a sudden, little Amy stopped singing. Now, if you've met me for any amount of time, you know that if I ever stop talking, the earth has gone off its axis and like there's something wrong. So Mom looked and her little baby was turning blue. So she rushed me to the emergency room. And this happened probably 4 or 5 times. And then she's like, listen, it's not pneumonia, it's not bronchitis, what is this? They brought me to a special hospital in Denver, Colorado called National Jewish. They did a bunch of tests and the doctor came out and said, we've never done this with someone this young, but your daughter's got severe asthma. And not only does she have severe asthma, she has all 3 types of asthma, and she's severe. So I know you guys are like, what are all 3 types of asthma, right? First one, infection-induced. So anytime I catch a cold, it's gonna go straight to my lungs, end up in the hospital. The second one is allergy-induced asthma. So if I'm around anything I'm allergic to, then I'll probably end up in the hospital. The next question is, what are you allergic to? In my years, I have found it easiest to explain it this way. I am allergic to anything that lives and breathes, anything that ever has once lived and breathed, and anything that could start jumping up and living and breathing, like the stuff in my husband's bathroom that we don't want to talk about, like I'm allergic to that as well. I'm also allergic to chlorine, which brings me to the third type of asthma that I have, which is exercise-induced asthma. Right? So of course, your kid's allergic to chlorine and has exercise-induced asthma, throw her in a swimming pool. I'm convinced my mother was trying to kill me at a young age, but we talk about it every Friday. We're getting through it. It's fine. So everything was normal for me, right? Like it had to be. My house was the cool house because I couldn't go spend the night at someone else's house because heaven forbid they would have a dog, a cat, a hamster, a goldfish. Like I would have an asthma attack. So the house was the cool house, and I didn't notice anything was different until I'm 6 years old. Right? This is when you go to school all day, you bring your lunch, you go outside to recess, you also get to go to like the field trips, which is usually the zoo. I would always have to stay inside too because I grew up in Colorado, so it was either too windy, not windy enough, snowing, not snowing enough, I was gonna have a hard time breathing, right? All of a sudden, you guys, one day, everyone was inside because it was snowing and they didn't want everyone to like ruin their hair or whatever. And everyone's in there, I'm like, this is what I do all day, every day, this is awesome. And then it happened. The love of my life, Timmy Harper, came walking towards me. And I thought, oh my God, he's gonna propose. And I thought, is it gonna be an indoor wedding or an outdoor wedding? Like, there are so many things that go through your mind, right? Big dress, little dress, but that depends on the ring, right, girls? Guys, here's a little tip for you. When you go to a wedding, if she's got a really tight, sleek dress, that ring is ginormous. And if you see the meringue that like goes out forever, you're like, dude, could have done better, come on. Anyway, so he comes up to me and he gets really close and he says, hey, Amy. And I'm like, yes, Timmy Harper. And he goes, why are you so weird? And I'm like, I don't know, Timmy, I don't breathe. And he goes, whatever, Amy, we learned in Mrs. Barker's science class, you have to breathe to live, so what's your problem? I'm like, I don't know, I'm different. And I went home, and I closed the door, and I collapsed and started crying, because that was the first time I realized that I was not like everybody else. Mom didn't know what to do, so Mom brings me to the doctor. And the doctor, with 165 years of schooling, starts blah, blah, blah. We need to exercise your lungs, blah, 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 blah. I'm in first grade. I know the rules. I raise my hand. He calls on me, and I said, hey, Doc, how am I supposed to exercise my lungs when I can't walk up and down the stairs in my house most nights? And he thought about it, and he said, well, swimming, water sports, they're great for asthmatics. Don't mind I'm allergic to chlorine, Doc. But that summer, you guys, I was so excited. I signed up for everything, swim team, diving team, synchro team, and there I was, the first day of diving practice. I had my swimsuit on, my sunscreen, my hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and I looked very cute. I got up to the diving board, and I stood there, and as I stood there, I discovered two things about myself I didn't already know. One, I am not a coordinated individual. You want me to take 3 steps, hurdle, jump, twist, and not rip an arm off? Probably not gonna happen. Side note, question, how many of you guys watched Olympic diving to see, because you know they do that new hippy, skippy, jumpy thing? Who looks to see whose foot's gonna be ripped off, like the top of it? Anybody else besides you? I know you were gonna be honest with me. Thank you, New York. Anybody else? Just us two? Good, okay, moving on. So as I stood there also, and I looked down, I discovered that I'm deathly afraid of heights. So I climbed back down, but I wasn't discouraged because the next day was synchro practice. There I was, I had my sequins on, my eyelashes were going. It might have been a pair just like I'm wearing today because they're fabulous. And once again, I looked very cute. The music started, I put the nose plug on, I jumped in the water, and I was upside down for an hour and a half doing that thing that they do. And again, I discovered 2 things about myself I didn't already know at the age of 6. One, I am not graceful and cannot point my toe. And I would love to show you, but that would be awkward. The second thing is I discovered that the nose plug doesn't work, and so I had water shooting straight into my brain. It's gonna make sense in about 5 minutes. I wasn't discouraged. Next day was swim practice. There I was, I had my swim cap on, my goggles, my Speedo, plug. That should be about enough time, yeah? My Speedo. I had a pull buoy between my legs, fins on my feet, and I looked like a total dork. Right? And I know everybody goes, but swimmers, their bodies are so beautiful. Like, look at Ryan Lochte, Caleb Dressel, they're just perfect, right? 2 words. Banana hammock. You didn't like that one, did you? No? Okay, I'm gonna help you out here. Grape smuggler? Okay, good, because we could go on for all day. I mean, we got them all. Right? So there I was, and I jumped in the swimming pool, and I discovered my passion. And I know you guys are sitting there going, well, yeah, you won 6 gold medals, duh. That would be a short speech, wouldn't it? It took me 6 years until I was 12 years old to finish one length of the pool, not the Olympic-sized pool that you guys see in the Olympics, it's 50 meters. By the way, whenever you book a hotel and they say, we've got an Olympic-sized swimming, no, you don't. Stop it. Moving on. I was always that kid, right? Like, it was 25 yards, by the way, the pool, that I couldn't finish. I was that kid where, like, everyone would say, take your marks, and everyone would bend down very gracefully, and I sat there with my arms out looking around to make sure I was doing it right. The gun would go off, everyone would dive in with minimal splash. I would go, wham, boom, belly flop, and everyone would go, ooh, ah, that had to hurt, and it did. I'd take a couple strokes, grab on the lane line, and start crying for my mommy, Mom, which is cute until you're 11. And then it loses its oomph. When I was 12 years old, I finished my first length of the swimming pool, and I mean, I got out of the pool, everyone was cheering. I thought it was because they thought that I was the next coming of Janet Evans. They were just clapping because they got to go get lunch. They were like, thank God, she finished. Woo! But I jumped out of the pool, and I ran over to my mom and my dad, and I said, hey, Dad, guess what? Next time I swim, I'm gonna win. And my dad put down his coffee, and he put down his arm around me, and he looked around, and he said, hey, Amy, shh, someone's gonna hear you. I was on the Olympic path because the next year I did just that. I won my very first blue ribbon. So here I come, Olympics. But first I had to go to high school, right? So this was back when we had to try out for a team. Anybody else besides me who's like 165 remember these days, right? Yeah, I wouldn't raise your hand either. Okay, good. So we tried out for the swim team, and I remember it was posted, and I ran over, and I looked at it, and I started at number 1, which at the time made complete and total sense in my little pea brain. And now I go, ha, dork. So I started, and I got to about 15, and you know, like, when you get excited and nervous and your stomach rumbles, it started happening, right? I got to number 20, and I could feel the vomit in the back of my throat. I got to 25, 26. They only took the top 28. And I thought to myself, how am I going to tell my dad I just failed? There I was number 28. I was picked, the very last pick. First day of swim practice, there I am, and I'm with these people that I looked up to, thought that they were the end-all, be-all, the bee's knees, if you will, which I thought was cool, but my brother told me that bees actually have like 8 knees, so it's not as cool. Anyway, I digress. So I get there, and they're doing a meeting, and they're like, all right, everybody, get in. We're going to warm up. Hey, Amy, come with me to my office. And I'm like, I am so good. I'm getting called to the coach's office the first day. And she said, hey, Amy, so you're not good. So we're not going to swim you at all in meets, but if you come to practice every single day and you get better and better, I'm going to put you on the relay for the last swim meet of the year. Now, the relay had won state since the earth had cooled. And I'm convinced my coach may have been on that relay team, but I'm not sure, no confirmation. But I didn't realize that the last swim meet meant nothing. But it happened. I went every day and I got better, and I was on the relay. And I was so nervous, you guys. I was behind the blocks and I had a towel over my head and I was just making the deals, right? Like, please don't let me mess up. I promise I'll eat all my broccoli and I won't beat my sister up tonight. My brother, on the other hand, I will kick his booty, and my sister tomorrow, it's on. And as I did that, the other 3 girls from my relay team walked in front of me. And to this day, I don't know if they saw me. And I don't want to know if they saw me. But what they said changed the direction of my life. It was the 80s. So bear with me. Remember these? Mall bangs? Mm-hmm. For those of you who are younger, we spoke differently. Someone will translate for you. Oh my God. I know, like Amy Van Dyken's like totally on a relay. Like, gag me with a spoon, as if. For those of you that don't know what I said, it's not good. And then I think they walked off to go to the mall or something. Anyway. And as they walked away, I was so upset because here are the girls that I wanted to be like. They were everything to me. And they were just telling me that I was so awful that they didn't want to swim with me. So after I was sad and after I was angry, I thought to myself, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? You are not in my heart. You're not in my head. You don't know what I am capable of. We won the relay. Thank you. Thank you. It was all me, not anyway. So by the time I was a junior in high school, I was breaking state records in everything I swam. And by the time I was a senior, I had qualified for the 1992 Olympic trials. Thank you. Thank you. I have to tell my nieces and nephews that we did have the Olympics in the 1900s. Stupid. Anyway. Oh, God, children, right? So I qualified for Olympic trials. I had an opportunity to go to any school I wanted to go to. Now, when they take you on like a recruiting trip, right, they take you to the places that they know you're going to want to see to entice you to go to the school, right? My brother, for example, he has a double PhD, evolutionary biology and mathematics. They brought him to the laboratory. My sister builds websites, Sony, for companies, Disney, that I'm not allowed to mention Acura, because if I do, NFL, then they have to pay me. Porsche. So they brought her to the library. Me, they brought me to fraternity row. You knew it was coming, didn't you? All right. There I am, right? It was the University of Arizona men with their shirts off doing beer bongs. Yes, please, bear down, Arizona. Got there, was swimming. We got to go to Olympic trials, the 1992 Olympic trials, and I qualified for 2 events. One is the 100-meter butterfly. I would like to find the human that invented this stroke and kick them as hard as I can in the teeth. It is the stupidest stroke ever, right? Anybody who doesn't understand this, I'm going to give you an example. Okay? Here's the Titanic. The Titanic goes down. There's Rose. Rose is doing some breaststroke. Maybe she does a little backstroke, right? Maybe even some side stroke. And here comes Jack showing off for Rose, doing the butterfly. And we know how that one ended, don't we? You're not Sir, it's a movie. It's called The Titanic. Anyway, okay, we'll talk about it in a minute because I'm running out of time. Let's just move on. In the 100-meter butterfly, I got 12th, not bad, but the second thing I qualified for was the 50-meter freestyle. This is my jam. It's all guts, all glory. Who is the meanest, the orneriest, the nastiest? It's a splash and dash, right? I wanted a chance to make the Olympic team. Now, to make the Olympic team, you have to, easy enough, win your event. Duh. Well, after the morning swim, I had to qualify in the top 8 in order to do that, and I qualified 8th. I heard somebody back there. Good call. Now, what they do is they march you out with this music, right? And it's a wet pool deck, and you're walking. And remember, I am not graceful, not coordinated, probably going to fall, not going to be cute. So I squish all 6 feet of me down into about 4'3", which is about as tall as I am right now, so you can imagine. And I get behind the block, and I start doing this. And you guys have seen athletes do this, right? Do any of you guys know why we really do this? Do you remember when you were a kid and you play hide and seek and you have to tinkle and you do the potty dance? Right? You can't do the potty dance on worldwide television, so you shake it out. You're going to watch the next Olympics and you're going to be like, hey, hun, Ryan Lochte has to tinkle. How do you know that? He's shaking it out. I used to say next time you watch a football game, but then I married a football player and I realized they don't shake it out, they just go. So anyway, we're moving on. So I'm shaking it out, and they announce everyone from lane 1 to lane 8. I'm in lane 8. This is what I heard. In lane 1, Betty Sue Smith. She has 8 bajillion world records, 9,000 gold medals. She was on the cover of Vogue. Everyone look at her. Everyone clapped, and I went, oh, what the? By the time they got to the girl next to me, she was so good that at any point during the race, she wasn't going fast enough. She could jump up on top of the water and swim across it. And in lane 8, that's all we have. Okay. She won a blue ribbon when she was 13 years old. Amy Vandiker. Anyway, got up on the blocks. I swam my race. I hit the wall. I looked at the time, and I didn't know if I should be happy or sad. Happy, I won a best time, and at Olympic trials, that's hard. Sad, I missed the 1992 Olympics by 1/100th of a second. You are not kidding. Well, after I warmed down, I went up to my parents, and I said, hey, Dad, don't worry about it. Going to Barcelona for 1 lap is kind of a waste of time and money. So in 96, I'm going to go and I'm going to swim more than 1 event. My dad put down his coffee, stood up on his seat, and screamed at the 92 Olympic trials, did everybody hear that? My daughter's going to the 1996 Olympics in more than 1 event. He got back down. I put my arm around him. I looked around and I said, hey, Dad, shh, someone's going to hear you. I did just that in 1996. I qualified for not 1, not 2, but 5 events. I was ready to go. Thank you. And I woke up the next day after Olympic trials, and I couldn't wait to look in the mirror. You wonder why? It's because I'm an Olympian. I'm going to have long flowing hair, a clear complexion, and the hottest boyfriend you've ever seen. And not one of those things happened. So I went to a friend of mine, Summer Sanders, who had gone to the 92 games, and I said, when did you feel like an Olympian? And she said, well, when we went through the gates of the Olympic Village. That's when I felt it. Great, because we're on the bus. We're ready to go. And right before we get to the gate, our bus stops. And we've got military members on the bus, in the bus, under the bus. They've got dogs, they've got cats, they've got the wappy, the tasy thing, all the things. And I looked at the person next to me, I'm like, they're ruining my moment. How dare they ruin my moment? And as they did that, we drove through the gates, and I missed my moment. A few days later, everyone's dressed in these really horrific outfits because this was before Ralph Lauren got involved, and Michael Phelps has to have a jacket that lights up. We had 2 pieces of felt, one in the front, one in the back, and duct tape. The outfits on TV look good, not in person. Anyway, so I went to Janet Evans, who had been to the Olympics since I think they started back in the ancient Roman days. And I asked her, I said, hey, Janet, what are you guys doing? And Janet knows that I went to school on an athletics scholarship, not academics, so she knows to speak slower to me. She said, honey, we're going to opening ceremonies because the Olympics start tomorrow. Awesome, high five, have fun. So I went back to do what all swimmers do, is to shave, right? We love to shave. And I'm going to tell you, when you have a moment that changes your life forever, that first $5 million listing that you get, don't have a razor on your ankle. Turned on the TV to watch my friends, and this is what I heard. Tomorrow, Amy Van Dyken takes on the world in the 100-meter freestyle. Huh? Well, I did. And I hit the wall and turned around and saw my time. Again, I didn't know if I should be happy or sad. Happy, I won a best time at the Olympics. Huge deal. Sad, I got 4th. Right? And you know why. I'm an American. And we do not spend our hard-earned tax dollars to send people to the Olympics to walk away with a smack on the booty. We expect them to bring something home. And I got out of the pool and I realized that at that moment, I did not just let myself down and my parents down and my coach down. I let my entire country down. And I was walking away and I was always notorious for leg cramps, right? And the one thing in junior high or elementary school even, they tell you, if you've got leg cramps, walk it off, don't sit down. Not smart. Sat down. NBC's trying to get me off the pool deck because the next race is coming up, right? And if you notice in the Olympics, it's only the competitors and the judges. There's nobody else milling about. So they try to get me up. So I stand up, all 6 feet a woman. Not graceful, not coordinated, one big old oak tree. And I bounced like 4 times, I think. I counted. And everyone came running over, and my massage therapist's booty crack was on the Jumbotron. It was really distracting. So after that, I went and I had dinner and I got a massage. We get a lot of massages at the Olympics. I haven't had one since 2000. I'm a little uptight. It's fine. I went back to my room and the Olympic coaches were sitting there and I thought, wow, this is really cool. The Olympic coaches are here. The head coach said, why don't you sit down? And I think to myself, it's my room. Okay, sit down. So I sat down and the head coach said to me, Amy, your teammates love you. Like, you're a little quirky, you're really loud. I don't understand why they like you, but whatever. This isn't your games. So we know you have more to swim, but we've got someone that'll take up the slack. So my question to you is, do you want to stay here and cheer for your teammates? Now, let me tell you, when you do that, you're no longer an athlete, so we take your badge, you have to buy a ticket, you have to get a hotel, you can't come in the village anymore, or we can get you on a flight back to Denver probably tomorrow morning. And those 3 girls from high school were right in that room. And I thought, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? I politely said, hey, coach, I've got 4 more events. If I screw up again, let's have a conversation. But until then, I've got a race tomorrow. If you don't mind, I need some rest. And if you could leave the brownie that you're eating because it looks delicious and I'm starving. The next day was a relay. I had to swim exactly the same event that I did the night before. Not only did we get the gold medal, break the world record, I went the fastest split that had ever been swum in history. Do not tell me to go home. The day after that was the 100-meter butterfly. I just wanted to finish the race. Well, after the prelims, I was seated second. I got my massage. I got my McDonald's because they're everywhere in the Olympic Village. And by the way, let's talk about the Olympic Village. It is all true what you hear. If you are ever in the Olympic Village and you are on the 2nd floor, take the elevator. Do not open a stairwell because you're bound to see someone who's just won an Olympic gold medal with someone else who got the bronze. I'm just saying. I was seated second, and I went back to my room, and there were the coaches. And I thought, well, holy hell, what the heck did I do now? And the head coach goes, hey, Amy, we think you can win this tonight, and this is how you're going to do it. And then all I hear is, wah, 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 right? I'm thinking in my head, aren't you the tool bag that told me to go home 2 nights ago? That night, I went out to swimming, and I hit the wall, and I turned around, and they always tell you, don't look around on a turn. So I looked around, and I was in 4th. 1 more spot, I get my own medal, redemption. So I'm swimming. 35 meters left to go. The crowd in Atlanta, Georgia was so loud that not only could I hear them underwater, I could feel them underwater. It was like a bzzz. And I'm thinking, wow, someone is swimming fast. I hope it's Angel. She's a great teammate. It's probably her last Olympics because she's getting up there. Hopefully she can win. That'd be really great. And I hit the wall and turned around and I was like, that's a really good time. What is that one? And then I hear, the gold medal goes to Amy Van Dyken from the United States. Oh my God! I'm going to tell you, when you're preparing for something like this, practice your celebration face, right? I'm still signing a flippin' Wheaties box. Wheaties box. Plug. They pay less, we're done. Still signing it with this. Wouldn't it have been much cuter if it was this? Right? I think so. Day after that was another relay. 2 things can hurt you on a relay. 1, you have a rookie who is nervous, and 2, you have someone who's forgotten their swimsuit. It sounds ridiculous. There are actually 4 people who are underneath where all the swimmers are with bags of different swimsuits, sizes, shapes, colors, all the things, because some people, Michael Phelps, have forgotten their swimsuit. Caleb Dressel, I do not mention names, Caitlin Leverance, but it does happen. I've done it. But we had a rookie who was nervous. Her name was Amanda Beard. She used to carry a teddy bear. Nobody knows who she is. That's fine. Moving on. So she came up to me and she goes, I haven't done a lot of relays. I don't know how to do a start. Huh? Like, we're marching out to go. And I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to yell go and you just need to go. She goes, okay. She's on the block. The swimmer's coming in. I look and I go, go! And she goed and then I goed and then our English goed. But we got the gold medal, broke the world record. Right? So this is when I decide to get into the media, because you go into the media room, right, and they ask the questions. Hey, Amy, you were really supportive of Amanda, so how long has this friendship been brewing? I said, well, I mean, we're friends, but I was just telling her to go. Okay. Have your parents met? Are they also friends? No, I was just telling her to go. Right. So do you think you'll like vacation together? I was telling her to go. Well, after that, I went back and looked at my stash. I've got 3 gold medals, which is a cute pair of earrings and a necklace, but I like to layer. The day after that was the 50 free we've discussed. After the morning swim, I was in the zone. The way that I can explain it is it was very quiet, which is weird because I blast heavy metal music as loud as possible. I tell my mom it's because of her. I want someone screaming in my ear to calm me down. Again, Fridays, we're fine. And you're just confident. So I went in that night and I went to the ready room. You have to be there 30 minutes before your race. If you are there 1 second late, you're disqualified. And you're all in chairs that are like in rows, right? But we have big shoulders, so we're like hitting shoulders with these girls that I'm about ready to rip the heart and soul out of for a gold medal. And I didn't know why we had to do this, but the girl next to me had the world record in this event. She had won a gold medal earlier. I figured she'd know, right? So I took my chair and I spun it around right in front of her, and as I went to sit down, I went, oh my God, I don't speak Chinese. And I knew she didn't speak English, but now I don't want to be that kid in school that's like, never mind. So I just, our knees are about that far apart, right? So I just sat there for half an hour, and I didn't know what to do, so I just stared at her. Everybody up! We all jumped up. My friend from China's behind me. I'm staring at the back of her head, get behind the blocks, doing the potty dance, and I looked over at her, and she did something in all the years of us swimming together she had never done. She looked down, and I knew I won. But I thought, let's give these people a show, shall we? I remember taking a breath halfway through, and I only did that. The race is 24 seconds. If you can't hold your breath for 24 seconds, you shouldn't be swimming. But I always took a breath to see where I was. And as I did that, my friend from China took her breath as well. And I'm so thankful I didn't run track, because the things that came out of my mouth, I would still be in confession. Hit the wall. I won. But I didn't know what the ramifications of that were until I saw my coach crying. I'd always wanted to make that man cry. Payback. And I go to the mix zone, right? So what that is, you guys see it on TV, right? So you've got the athlete, and then there's a fence, actually, that you don't get to see, and then they're there, right? So the guy from Colorado, which is where I was living at the time, hey, Amy, we're going live in 30. Can I get you? I'm like, I am done, Ed. You can get me all you want. So he goes, great. He does this whole spiel, and he goes, so how did it feel to break the Olympic record? Well, my time broke the Olympic record. So I was like, well, you know, Ed, I've been working on my start and my blah, 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 all the stuff the athletes say that you're like, just tell the truth. And he's looking at me weird, and I'm like, oh, crap, did I just drop an F-bomb on live TV? So I stopped and just smiled, because that'll make it better. He goes, no, you're the first American woman, any sport, summer, winter, to win 4 gold medals and 1 Olympics. I looked in the camera going back to my home state, and they were going to be so proud of me, and I said, shut up! After that, you have to redeem yourself, so I went back to train for the 2000 games. It was a hot mess. I was training, a hot volleyball player came in, I was doing an overhead squat. Anybody know what that is? A few of you? Right, so you get the bar up over your head, and then you squat, right? And he goes, well, I thought you were strong. And I'm like, I am. I was just warming up, but I slopped the weight on there, right, to show off, because I wanted a date. Lifted it up, shoulder went, dropped the bar, my arm went down, I threw up. I didn't get the date. I went into the operating room, and they said, your career is probably over. And who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? 18 months later, I was back in the pool, my very first race. I threw my arms forward in the start. There was a snap, crackle, and pop, and we all know I don't eat Rice Krispies. And I hit the wall, and I was crying. And I had another surgery 6 months to the day of Olympic trials in the 2000 games, and there was no way anybody can get ready for that. I qualified in 3 events. I walked away with 2 more gold medals. Thank you. and another 4th place, but we don't talk about that. And as I stood there on the podium for my gold medal, and I saw all the cameras, and then I saw all the people, and they said, will you please rise for the playing of the national anthem of the United States of America? And the flags go up, and the American flag went up first, as it should. And everyone was quiet. You could hear clicks of the camera. I thought, how many people are here or at home after a busy day, maybe singing with us, hand over their heart, or maybe they're just quiet for the first time all day for something I just did. And it was the coolest feeling ever. But I knew I had done everything, world records, American records, gold medals, what else do I have to do? So I decided to get into the media. So I was a morning shock jock for quite a while in Phoenix, Arizona. Chris and Amy in the morning makes 96.9. Caller number 25, Nirvana tickets. And I got tired of talking about the Kardashians and their butts. And are they real or are they not? I was a sideline reporter for NFL on Fox. I was one of those people where they're like, hey, there's an injury on the field. We're going to go to Amy. And I was like, hey, guys, thanks so much. Yeah, there was an injury on the field, but I have no idea what's going on. These guys are really large, and I cannot see the field. Plus, no one's even talking to me. So I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to make something up, but I am going to look very cute. Back to you guys. That's what we think. Well, I had an opportunity to work on Fox Sports Radio National, and I did it. I was the only female voice on Fox Sports Radio at that time. We were in over 500 markets. In a lot of those, we were top 20, and in even more, we were top 10. We were rocking and rolling. But you guys even know you have to take a vacation from time to time. So I did. We went to our mountain house in Arizona, right up in Sholo, and it's a community where you park your car, and then you take your golf cart, or you take your motorcycle, or your ATV, or your hoverboard until it catches fire, and then you've got to walk. And that's exactly what we did. June 6, 2014 was a day like every other day. I woke up and had about 1.5 gallons of coffee, because this is not natural. Took my dog for a walk on the golf course. Some guy yelled at us, "You're not allowed to walk your dog on the golf course." I yelled back, "You're not allowed to play crappy golf on this golf course." Kuma, run, go. I went and I did CrossFit, which I always did. I did my very first and last ring muscle up. It's not worth it. Ran my last mile. I talked to the guy who owned the gym, and he was like, "Hey, Amy, firefighter games tonight. Come and watch." And I was like, "Absolutely, I will be there." I went home, and it was time for dinner. We were going to go to a restaurant that was 1/4 mile away from the house, so we could have walked, right? But I am 6 feet tall, and I insist on wearing 5 to 6 inch stiletto heels. Why? Because I can. So my husband took his motorcycle, I took my ATV, I went in, I had trout and steamed broccoli. Why do I tell you that? Because it is the most insignificant thing in the world, and I will never forget it or order it again. I remember standing up and pushing in my chair, and that's where my memory ends, so I'm going to go based on what everyone has told me. Normally, my husband would take off before me on his motorcycle. Something was wrong with it, so he was dilly-dinking around with it, right? Thank goodness. If he would have gone before me, he wouldn't have found me, and I wouldn't be here. He said he looked up and saw me on my ATV, and he was like, "What the heck is she doing?" He said there was no scream, not a noise, not even a flicker of a brake light. I hit a curb and went over a 6-foot cliff. He ran over, looked down, I was face down, and he could see that my back was broken. He ran down, I was not breathing. He rolled me over and just lifted up my neck, and I started convulsing, and my eyes went 2 different directions for about 8 minutes. Any of you know brain injuries? That's not good, right? Flight for Life comes in. My first responder was there. His name was DJ. He owned a CrossFit box. Put me in Flight for Life and told my husband, "She probably won't remember you. I just need you to be prepared for that." And as they took off, I do remember waking up and I saw clouds, and I remember looking at the nurse behind me, and I was like, "Am I dead? Don't let me die." He shot me up with morphine. Shut up, woman. We got to the trauma center. I was trauma patient C, which means that there were 2 others that had come in before me. They did the scans. My doctor tells me to this day, he shut down that trauma center and any trauma center that he could have been called to. I said, "Why? Because I won gold medals?" He said, "No, honey, it was bad." So when you look at your spine, right, you got stacks. And a lot of people will dislocate like this or like this. I dislocated like this. My spinal cord snapped back because it's like a rubber band. And this, if you take a hair off your head and split it in half, that's how far away this was from my aorta. I was laying there, and this is where my memory comes. My doctor's showing me a cell phone. You're not understanding what I'm saying, Amy. I don't know what I was saying. He goes, we're going to surgery right now, and I'm going to try as hard as I can to get you out. I have a great cardiothoracic specialist in there. And I was like, is it Dr. Gray or Dr. Yang? And he said, you need to say goodbye to your husband right now. And it was very matter of fact for me, right? I looked at my husband and I said, babe, I love you. Because I'm thinking of the Lifetime movies that we all secretly watch that we don't admit we watch, right? Where the wife or the husband dies and then, oh, you meet your soulmate, but you don't know if you... So I said, hey, babe, I love you. And if I don't come out, I want you to be happy. I want you to date. And I want you to get married again. Months later, when I had to rescind that offer, it got uncomfortable for everybody. Some of them were lovely. Anyway, he got close to me and he said, hey, babe, if this is too much, I'll understand and you can give up. And I remember I grabbed his hand and I pulled, because I couldn't sit up, pulled him to me and I said, hey, babe, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? Went into the operating room, and you guys, if any of you have been in an operating room, right, they've got like music, it's kind of loud, people are joking, people are doing all the things. It was silent. And there were some people, I think there were 4 or 5, against a wall. Everyone had waders on because it's a bloody surgery. And if you've donated blood, thank you. If you haven't, think about it. I'm done. And I looked over and they had Igloo coolers. Well, I was on Dilaudid. I'm fantastic on Dilaudid. So I looked over and I go, oh my God, it's a party, BYOB. And thank you that I made myself get out of that, because let me tell you a story. Can you imagine? Doctor, what were her last words? Although he would have been like, it's her. 8 hours later, I came out of surgery, and I was in ICU for 3 weeks. And I remember the first day, I had some friends in there, my book club. Listen, let's be honest, I don't read the books, I do it for the wine. Book schmuck. Anyway, we were all laughing, and my doctor comes in, and I remember he's looking at the chart, he looked at his watch, he looked at the room number, and I go, hey, doc, what are you doing? He goes, I'm looking for someone that just had a traumatic spine surgery. I go, oh, that's me, come on in. He's like, I've never seen anything like you before. But the thing is, I was happy to be there. I was happy to be alive because I'm not supposed to be alive. We can clap for death. That's perfect. Let's do it. Which is actually, it's interesting. I have this tattoo on my wrist. So it's a phoenix rising from the ashes, right? I live in Phoenix. Also, I rose from the ashes. And if you look underneath, it's got the last time my heart rate went wonky, and then it goes into my normal sinus rhythm. So these are actual things from me dying and coming back to life, right? From that moment on, I knew that I was on borrowed time, and I was not going to let any minute go to waste. And I knew that I had to do things that I've never done before, right? So I've gone out, I've water skied, I've snow skied, I've rock climbed, I was on a lacrosse team until I got kicked off, because it's fun to hit people in wheelchairs when you can't feel anything from the belly button down. So I was hitting my own team, so they asked me not to come back. But they did ask me to play on the Arizona Cardinals wheelchair football team, so that'll be fun. I CrossFit. I am the second fittest seated female athlete on the planet. Well, thanks. I was going to do everything that I could, and here's why, right? Like, now if I fail, people go, oh my God, honey, good for trying. Before my injury, they would have been like, isn't she supposed to be a really good athlete? I'm on borrowed time. And I remember doing rehab, and they would put me in the exoskeleton, right? And it walks for you. And I remember it would stand up, and it would make that noise. And so I would look at doctors that were coming my way, and I'd be like, I'll be back. You have to. And I would walk with this, right? And my therapist would always say, try to use your legs. Now, what I didn't know is they could turn the machine up or down depending upon how I was moving, and I kept getting stronger, so they kept turning it down. When I say stronger, it's really, I can't move a fly off of anything, but yet they could kind of feel it. So I got braces. That actually went under my armpits because I'm paralyzed from my belly button down. In the back, it's a little higher because remember I told you my spinal cord snapped. So I have some higher and some lower than my actual injury. Anyway, so they put braces on, and I remember I was like, it's ugly and it's going to hurt my armpits. Take that part off. So they did. So then it goes from my knees all the way, or my hips all the way down. And everyone was standing there because I'm not supposed to have a core. And I had the walker, and they're like, all right, let's try it. And these men are standing behind me because I'm probably going to fall. And I stood up. My husband's 6'4", and I looked him in the eye for the first time in 5 months. He said, you know what you have to do? I said, let's walk. That day I took 50 steps by myself. And I thought to myself, how many strokes did I take in my career? I mean, I'm sure some of you are mathematicians, right? You guys deal with numbers all the time. So let's do this, right? So a 50-meter pool, I would take 26 strokes. Any given day, I would swim anywhere from 10 to 14,000 meters, and I swam 6 days a week, and I did that with only 2 weeks off a year. So those are a lot of strokes, and not one of them meant more to me than those 50 steps because I wasn't just competing for me or for you. I was getting my life back. Now, I told you that I'm paralyzed, right, from the belly button down, and I'm one of those people who's really lucky and I have severe nerve pain. So like today is a good day. I feel burning, tingling, stabbing under my feet. There's like a bzzz every once in a while. On a really bad day, it feels like my skin is being ripped off. But what was kind of cool was that pain kept moving down. And I noticed that at one point, if you go from my hip bone down, right, there's about that far where I didn't feel it. So like, how far is that, right? I mean, the guys out there are like, it's 6 inches. It's actually... It was actually 4. And every single day that I wake up, it's not a great day, right? A lot of times I'm in pain. People are like, we put our pants on the same way, unless you're a paraplegic. But like today, my feet are so swollen, I've been flying a lot, right? So it was hard to get my shoe on. And I wanted to take that shoe and I wanted to throw it across the room, but I stopped myself. And this is what I do. When you guys are with clients all day, I know, listen, my husband hangs his real estate license with HomeSmart. Notice how he's not here. Awkward. He was a punter. It's fine. Don't tell him I said that if you ever run into him. Do. He'll know. Anyway. So what I do is I take that moment and I put it kind of like in a ball, right? That's kind of how I visualize it. And I look at that ball and I go, why is that bothering me so much? Because it's not the shoe. It's not even my foot that's bothering me. What is it? And I look at that and I say, how am I going to make this better next time? I roll it up and I throw it. Because next time I'm going to know how to deal with it, but I don't want my day to be taken over by this awful feeling, right? Every day that we have is a gift. And you don't know what's going to happen when you walk downstairs, when you're at the craps table, unless you're with me, and then you know you're losing lots of money. Thank you, Caesars. Appreciate you. But if you can do that, because you all have bad days, and I know, right? I've bought and sold houses. I've bought and sold houses. So I understand what you guys are dealing with, right? So when you're having an awful day and the clients that are in your car are absolute D-bags, can I say D-bags? I've said worse today. Let's go for it. They're D-bags, right? And they're like, oh, but the pool, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then your phone is blowing up with text messages and emails and all the things, and maybe the boss is calling you, and you're like, why is he such a jerk unless you are the boss? And you're like, whoa, why am I a jerk? Yay. And then you go home, right? And then you got your significant other, your husband, your wife, your partner, your whatever, and they're like, thank God you're home. It was the worst day ever. The kids are driving me nuts. You forgot to take out the trash. Here, take a kid. And you're like, oh my God, will it stop? And we all have those days, right? So what I want you to do when that happens is I want you to close your eyes and I want you to picture me. And here's the thing, a lot of speakers will tell you, don't feel the feeling. That's crap. The feeling is there for a reason. It wants its moment. Give it its moment, because then it'll go away quicker. So when you have that moment, close your eyes, picture me standing right next to you, and I want you to look at the crap that is going on and say, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? And I want you guys to rock it out like you can, and I know you can, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys, I appreciate that so much. Although I do know you've been sitting for a while, so your underwear was up your butt, but that's fine. I mean, I'm going to take it like you appreciated it. So I know that we were talking about, the Slido app, and if anybody had any questions. So, my girl Eileen out there.
Yeah, I think.
Hi, Mama.
I think we're close to the end of time. But how do you keep a positive mindset?
That's really hard, right? Because I've got days where, remember, I'm paralyzed from the belly button down, and I'm not going to get too graphic, but think about what's below your belly button. None of that works. So if I go to a sushi buffet, I'm like a 2-year-old, right? So not every, like wearing a diaper is what I was going with that. I don't do that every day. It's just sometimes, okay, anyway, moving on. So the way that you do it is you just, again, you close your eyes and you picture that thing and why is it bothering you, and you're going to learn from it. And so that's how I do it. I also know that, again, I'm not supposed to be here. I died so many times in that accident. And so that's how I do it, right? I remember one time, I'm just going to tell this quick story really quick. I always say that my accident changed me for the better. I remember there was one time I was going into a store and I opened the door for a gentleman, right? And he didn't look at me, he didn't say thank you, he didn't nod his head, he didn't give me the middle finger, nothing. In Amy fashion, I said, "You're welcome, Your Royal Highness, and next time I'll roll out the red carpet for you." I actually did say that. Well, my husband, when I was in surgery, was sitting in a ball in a corner rocking back and forth. If he had to go to the restroom and someone opened the door for him, he wouldn't have the ability to flip someone off, to head bob, to say thank you. So I look at people in a different way now, and I give people more of a pass, I guess, right? Because we're not all bad people. We're not all Perry Ciccarelli. Kidding, Perry.
We do have a bunch of questions, but we have to wrap it.
Oh, perfect. Can we do one more? One more? I talked too long. You guys didn't count my thing down. One more.
What is the next chapter in your life?
What is the next chapter? Oh, man, I'm going to take over the world. So here's the thing. Science is coming so far right now. They've actually discovered that if they take some of the belly fat out of your belly, that they can make it into a jelly that will go, and they can inject it into your spinal cord and it regenerates. They're working on this now. So not only do we have people walking, we've got people with bowel, bladder, and sexual function back, which is why I'm growing the belly fat so that they can...
Yeah!
Right? When you see me at the buffet in about 10 minutes, you know what I'm doing. You guys are fantastic. I love you. Godspeed. Be well.